Powerful. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my true honor and pleasure, an incredible honor, to present Public Counsel's 2017 William O. Douglas Award to the inimitable, is that right? Inimitable. I missed a syllable there. Sorry, Reverend. Reverend James M. Lawson, Jr.
Thank you. Well, sisters and brothers, I'm deeply privileged and honored for this William O. Douglas Award from Public Counsel. And I want to thank all of the people of the staff and the council, lawyers, and you who are present this evening for such a wonderful award and such a great evening. I want to accept this award on behalf of my wife and sons and daughters, and sons rather and grandchildren, and on behalf of all of the people with whom I have associated across the decades in this work in 3 different states. On their behalf, I'm deeply grateful at this point in my life, enthusiastic about the infinite possibilities for us all. I'm really pleased that it's a William Orville Douglas Award, because I recall him in my youthful days. He was appointed as a young intellectual, one of the finest legal scholars, as I remember, by FDR. Great controversy followed him. He was called many bad names across the nation for his positions and for his life. But he served for 36 years, from 1940 to 1976. And in those years that he served, the Supreme Court as the 3rd major governing institution of our democratic experiment, in many ways stopped the historic hypocrisy of our experiment that said we were a democratic society and we obeyed law, we were people of law, people of truth, stopped the schizophrenia that was a paramount cultural, social, political part of our reality. And that's those Supreme Courts, oftentimes with 9-0 decisions in those years, determined that the Constitution was inclusive of all the people of this nation, not just some, but all. After more than 160 years of proclaiming an exceptionality of our society, those courts, I should say, proceeded to make the decisions that said segregation is wrong, it's immoral, it has to be changed. Said that the Constitution includes even human rights for the criminal person in our land, an extraordinary decision. Determined, in fact, in a way that we're still fighting this moment, because the Supreme Court now has become a symbol of returning to the past and allowing the Constitution to be not representative or inclusive of all this 320-odd million peoples. So William Orville Douglas, good symbol, and I relish this opportunity to see this award and to say to you thank you, and to Public Counsel my deepest gratitude. I'm deeply impressed by what you have shown us this evening, but also from what I know of you. Many of you have been my colleagues along the way over the last 30 or 40 years here in Los Angeles. I'm not going to name names lest I miss someone of high regard. But I'd like to sense from what I hear this evening that Public Counsel represents the sowing of the seed for the society that we all yearn to have happen, for which there are glimpses of it, and you in Public Counsel represent not just a glimpse, but in your work you represent a powerful part of what is essential. When I speak of nonviolent struggle, I am saying something like this: that we cannot change our society, we cannot change injustice by imitating the wrongs in our society, not the wrong language, not the wrong attitudes towards people. We cannot change our society if we want to despise this unit or that unit of the human family. Gandhi is the one of India, is the one who from 1906 to about 1947, when he was assassinated, proposed nonviolent struggle, nonviolent civil resistance, nonviolent civil disobedience, nonviolent struggle that could be carried on in as disciplined a fashion as any kind of warfare or any kind of great athletic contest. He had some 10 methods that he proposes through his more than 100 books that the Indian government have put together in the Gandhi Library. 10 different methods in which he extracts from human history not only the strike and the boycott and the march, but a great variety of other kinds of concerns. He pulled these together in his 50 years of experiment with the politics of struggle that create effective change. The 10th tactic, the 10th methodology, he called parallel institutions. And what he proposed is that when the society is not doing the work that the people need for truth and beauty and justice and wonder, he says that then the people of a nonviolent struggle organize in a fashion to do the work, and to do the work so well that eventually that work becomes the work of the whole land, the work of the governments, the work of all the people. Public Counsel is an NGO. It is a parallel institution of which Gandhi spoke. And parallel institutions doing the work that you do not only turn the soil, produce the people, create the understandings, the methodologies, the struggles, so that we know no matter what the present moment represents in terms of chaos and confusion, we know that the future is not in the hands of the chaos, but the future is in the hands of those of you who do the work that make the future possible today. That's nonviolent struggle. And I want to propose to you in the Public Counsel that you see yourselves not simply in an ordinary task in our world, in our city, in our nation, but you see yourselves as, in fact, a part of the growing awareness of people all over the earth can be fair, that the status quo is unfair in too many ways to too many different kinds of people all over the world, in our own land as well. Call yourselves the wave of truth that represents the new earth, the new heaven that is possible here and now. An ancient rabbi, 1,800 years ago approximately, said something like this: to destroy a life is as to destroy a world. To preserve a life is as to save and preserve a world. The Public Counsel's work represents, as seriously as the struggles of the 50s and the 60s and 70s and the desegregation movement, you represent in this now the future that is yet to be. And I want to congratulate you, the Public Counsel, for this great work and urge you to continue. I heard this evening a good bit about this community that you represent. Well, one of the values of nonviolent struggle is this. We know that if we're going to create the kind of world and kind of Los Angeles we're seeking, we cannot use the old language for one another, that is the language of despising some folk. We cannot use the language of meanness and derogatory language. We must create a language of community, of family, a language that acknowledges the dignity of every human being, that recognizes the well-being. Albert Einstein said that when you go after solving a problem, you cannot solve the problem at the same level of the problem. You have to find another level, a higher level, another perspective, which gives you the perspective by which you can then see the way through the issue. As you talk about compassion and care for one another, as you provide legal understanding for the problems of whatever they are, whether immigration, protecting the innocent, stopping the separation of children and families, which is an ancient problem in the United States, which began with the Indian and continued through slavery and continues to this moment, a long line that is contradiction to our demand to our effort to pretend that we are exceptional. You build the community of struggle out of which we, the USA people, can become a people of law, of equality, of liberty, of justice for all. Use a new language. Do not support the old stuff, the stuff that's been appearing in our papers almost every day now. Use the language of hope and truth and of wonder. I saw our struggle with Martin Luther King and John Lewis and L. Ponder and many others across the 17 years that I was living in Tennessee. I saw that struggle as a word about ourselves and our nation and our civilizations. Nonviolence does not primarily mean anti-violence, though nonviolence has an implacable critique of violence. Gandhi said at one point with American Negro visitors, in fact, that nonviolence is love in practice, love in action. It's the most powerful force of the universe. And that when we human beings learn to use it as power, as strength, as character, as nobility, we will be astonished what kind of world we can achieve. When we look around the earth today, there are countless numbers of places in the United States and in Europe and in Africa and Latin America, in Central Asia, the Middle East, where the limits of violence are more than self-evident. The politics of violence, the politics of war, the politics of endless greed and technology will cause we of the human family to commit suicide and to make the earth and the galaxy uninhabitable. The word of nonviolent struggle that came through the movement, the Rosa Parks movement, the Nell Ponder movement, is a word about our present and our future. We must break the back of the politics of war and violence, or they, in turn, will give us no options for the future. In accepting this award, I commit my own continuing journey to this unfinished task. Martin Luther King Jr. is a symbol of the fact that the nation, this nation, must become a new people with a new energy, with a new burst of equality and freedom for all. Or the earth, fair as it is, will be vulnerable to the destructive powers of untruth and hopelessness. I urge Public Counsel to continue its work, one at a time, 5 at a time, 10 at a time. You are a non-governmental organization, but you represent a parallel institution in the great struggle for the earth that we all seek. Not only do I congratulate you, but I urge you to insist that a new LA, a new nation, is possible. The status quo is not lodged in titanium. The situation is not hopeless. The spiritual forces of wickedness that we can call racism and sexism and violence and plantation capitalism cannot prevail. They are on the wrong side of history. They are on the wrong side of life. They are on the wrong side of you. And I say to you this evening that we can all continue the good work of the Public Counsel in our own ways, in our own places, in our own time. I seek a world. I seek a city. I seek an earth. I seek a nation where no child anywhere will be birthed into calamity, but where every child has access to the tree of life and to the infinite possibilities, to the infinite eternal possibilities of life that is free and hopeful and enduring. Thank you.